My theme music. All right, let's pause for a minute. All right, so good morning. And if you're joining, thank you. I know yesterday normally is the time that we would have our live stream, but um, yeah, due to things kind of running away from me, as in timing, I was at Ebenezer Mango Fest, which was great. Am I upset that I missed the mango jam? That somehow seemed to be the first thing to run out. Absolutely, but I did get a mango cinnamon roll and coconut tart because yes, there was coconut tart at the mango fest. But either way, that's what I like. And I got a mango ginger juice that was actually very delicious. And I'm very upset with myself for not getting the lady's contact information who had made the juices. She was selling mango carrot and mango ginger, and both were amazing. So essentially, Mango Fest was it's the second year I think that it's happened. I wasn't able to go last year because normally this is recess time, so I would be off island taking a break and such. But because of how the snap election is falling and such, we're gonna have everybody is here, so I am here. So I was able to go. So very happy that I was. Um, Everything looked really cool. I had to leave before the mango eating competition. Um, but all of the products were great. I also had like how you call it? I don't know what the word is, but it reminded me of ambrosia, and that was actually made by Adelia Miller, which is my god sister's mom, and an excellent baker. If you know any of her stuff, and it was almost like an ambrosia, so you had like bits of mango with like a custard kind of thing. So really good stuff. How you call it? I so then after that experience. Now I'm hoping and I'm wondering if this is something that's going to spread to other neighborhoods, because this is Ebenezer, of course. But overall, I think, we could get it to a point where, there is something that each neighborhood is maybe kind of known for, that they do something like this during the season, or it goes on a rotating basis. But nevertheless, it was really great to be there in Ebenezer and to enjoy what the vendors were offering. There was also food for sale, like you could get like fried fish and fried rice and such. So honestly, a really great event, and congrats to them for putting it on successfully now for the second year running. And next year, I will literally time it well, depending on what happens on August 19th. Um, I will literally time it to make sure I'm still here for it. So today, I don't have any tea. I actually have to restock my office with some tea. I just have plain old water today, so there is no tea fact or coffee fact of the day. But I just wanted to update everyone on what happened last week in Parliament. Even though it was officially recessed as of the 30th of June, we did have meetings last week, mainly a public meeting to discuss the report. Sorry, not a public meeting, a committee VRAMI meeting to discuss the report on the TNO report on energy for St. Maarten. Well, actually, it was a report that was commissioned by the Dutch government. To basically ascertain the state of energy and energy transition possibilities for Curacao, Aruba, and St. Maarten. So that was a committee VRAMI meeting, which I chaired as the chairperson of that committee. Of course, it was Minister Patrice Gumbs' first time in Parliament as a minister. And so that was also kind of cool to be able to chair that meeting, um, with him there. So that meeting went well. There were quite some questions posed that we will be receiving the answers to from the minister. And the TNO report is just one in several that has made suggestions of how St. Martin could transition to primarily solar energy, as well as what else is possible thereafter. So with with that, we also had technology. Google has been messing up, guys. But yeah, like I said, even though it is recess, what we are gonna see is in the event of us having to come back. For example, we're supposed to come back for the continuation of the Enm meeting, which will end up being in this recess period. I received the update today that it will probably be recalled for next week with the Minister of Finance to discuss, how do we move forward with that Enya problem as a country, and what is Parliament's perspective then on it. And we're also supposed to be getting the answers to questions posed to the Prime Minister, to Prime Minister Marcelina, back to Parliament, probably by the end of this week as well. And those were promised in writing by the Prime Minister. Outside of that, in terms of other updates around politics, there's not much to share beyond Postulation Day. Postulation Day was last week, Tuesday, July 2nd. We carried in the PFP slate of 12 candidates on at 9 a.m. Always try to be the first list to hand in. That's usually because we lock off our list early enough that we can, take care of all the necessary house cleaning matters and actually get people to start, getting into the groove of it while not looking to add persons too late, that it messes up the cohesion of the team. So it was great to hand in the list again, accompanied, of course, by the brass band and with just the energy around, it was a positive moment. Do we like that we're coming back to an election so soon after January? Absolutely not. But I do feel that there's a sense of change in the air where people are actively expressing their frustration with the fact that we have to go back to the polls. And there are persons who are already saying that they're not going to vote, that they're tired of voting, and such. And a lot of times when I listen to people who say that, and I ask them, well, who have you voted for historically? And they will tell you it's usually one of the bigger legacy parties. And I said, okay, so why not, instead of not voting, why not cast your vote somewhere else for people that you think that are trying to be honest and trying to be transparent and pushing forward a different approach to how governance is done on St. Maarten, and try to look beyond the frustration that you're feeling, because we're all frustrated. If I wasn't running, I too would probably be like, what is the point? But I then kind of sit back and I recognize the point. Like the people who are saying that they're not going to vote and such, they say, I do what I have to do, I pay my taxes, and that's exactly why you should vote, because that is going to impact how your taxes are spent. All of that is impacted by who you put in Parliament and then who they subsequently put in government based on whatever majority is formed. And I said it earlier today on a lecture, it starts with that. It starts with putting in representation that is going to focus on installing ministers that are coming from a perspective of integrity, from a perspective of making decisions that are right, that are not popular, but that are right for the country. Because many times what you'll find, whether it's in business, in your personal relationships, in politics, the right thing to do is the most uncomfortable thing to do most of the time. So it's not going to be a decision that anyone is going to be happy to make, but you have to be able to also justify yourself and say, well, this is why this is happening, and lead with the truth, essentially. Outside of Postulation Day, however, we did not have much else going on. I have not yet received the update on the questions that I sent to the Minister of TEAT regarding the status and the health of our telecommunications network. And that's going to take me right into the update, of course, on GB. GB right now, the Prime Minister has said that the container generators should be on their way, should be here, sorry, by mid-July, which of course is next week, hoping that there is some further clarity that can come forward from the Deputy Prime Minister this week about an exact timeline, and not only that, a timeline of arrival, but also a timeline of connectivity, because that's also part of what was explained in the meeting, where you have to you get the generators, sure, but then they have to be connected up to GB's grid and be able to be tested to make sure that we're not putting the grid at further risk by connecting these things up. So that is also what I have kind of put as a note. And I want to also just to kind of just slow down a bit on the update and touch on something that is very critical. And I think I have also said to government, is very important for us to remember. And again, broken record, but at this point, I think repetition is the way to go, right? Cascading failures is what we're seeing right now. Yesterday, very unfortunately, so many residents in defiance, especially those living higher up, from, when you come from the main road, go back up into the hill, were without water for hours yesterday. Now, water is essential. It's essential to life. It is essential to everything that we do. You know, health, cleanliness, your health, hydration, all of that is imperative to have access to clean water, right? Um, GB's issues from an electricity perspective are only going to continue trickling down. That's why I sent those questions to the Minister of TEAT about the telecoms network, because I'm pretty sure that both companies, Flow and Telem, are experiencing issues with their equipment. Just like your home TV can bust because of the power surge, so too can the equipment that keeps these up and running also have a burnout or fry out based on the electricity being pumped to them. So I think water was something that I warned about and I mentioned on this live stream as well. That I'm very worried that we're going to get to a point where we have issues with water. And from Belvedere and Dutch Quarter, it went from being announced for just one weekend, and now I found out that it is now expanding and it's just continuing. That it's more frequent that there's no water in those particular areas, Belvedere and Dutch Quarter. And those are some of our more densely populated areas. It seems now to be spreading up the hill, up Bishop Hill, to Defiance Middle Region, because yesterday we had extremely low water pressure where I live, and then of course further up into the hill you had no water at all. So I'm preparing then to also ask some questions to the Minister of VSA about what is being done to mitigate this particular risk now, because we have the collectivity right there. They have also had their water challenges, but it is always of course PFP's outlook that there should be collaboration on these matters, whether it's energy, whether it's water. You call ADF, you call SAR, and you ask a question about how can we help each other to make sure that these very critical, not just now national security, but these the public health issues are collaborated on, and that we're not putting persons further at risk. So next to the GB update, we had a great event from our volunteer organization arm, which is Projects for Progress, as I've mentioned here before. PFP candidate number 10, David Salomon, held a Going Solar event. Thank you again to all those who helped make that event a reality. Credits for the space. David himself, he came with his batteries and with his setup to kind of demonstrate what is possible with the system that he has. And there was some great information in there, and he will be publishing that presentation for those who couldn't be there. And there was also a live stream that you can check out, as well as some videos that will be coming out with all the information that he shared. Now, I learned a lot, as well. And it is, of course, the intention to be able to move towards having some type of solar capacity to kind of just bridge the gap with certain things. You want like your fridge to be okay, maybe your fans, your lights, maybe an AC unit or so to make sure that your house is cool. And so that's basically the some of the information that he shared. There were a lot of questions. It was great crowd engagement. So again, I'm happy that event went off so well. The Yeah. So if you're interested, you can of course reach out to David directly, or you can reach out to the project's social medias or our social medias, and we can put you in touch with him if you want to get started on a solution for your home. Now, David does try to make it as cost effective as possible. Of course, this is not something that most people can just do off a thought. You have to plan for it, and but I think ultimately in the long run, it is beneficial for you to kind of see where you can go to get that type of setup for yourself and for your household. And yeah, that is that's pretty much my update on what we have heard about GB. And I also wanted to just kind of touch a bit on the SHT survey that was done among their membership, on the impact of GB on the business sector. Persons are complaining that their groceries are expiring fast and now their fridge cannot handle the power surges. And that is, again, like I said, cascading failures. You are going to run into a food security issue as well if this continues without that temporary solution coming in. So I'm hoping that the sea cooperates. I'm hoping that the weather cooperates so that the container generators can get here and we can add that capacity to the grid, so that we don't end up in this scenario. But SHT basically found that 90% of the persons that responded to their survey reported that they lost stock. So you can assume that that is the wholesale distributors, the grocery stores, the smaller supermarkets. Of course, your freezers are going crazy, and your generator might not be able to keep up as well, which is also part of the problem that I mentioned with the telecoms companies. The generators are not meant to be on off like that. They're not meant to run for those long sustained periods of time. So you're going to run into issues where food may be lost, food stock, whether it's the nice stuff like ice cream, or important stuff like meats, produce, and vegetables and such. And 41% stated that they lost business due to this crisis. Now, I can tell you, not just the loss of equipment, but also I think if you go in, I'm a person that doesn't really walk with cash. I tend to just use my card wherever. So if you walk in somewhere with the intention to spend money, and then you have to leave because you don't have cash on you, and then you also can't get cash because the ATM doesn't have power, it's definitely compounding difficulties that are piling on top of each other. So I definitely, like I said, I'm hoping that we have a very clear answer about what is going to happen in terms of the temporary solution that's pending to arrive on island next week. It's going to be a pretty short live stream. Didn't really have much happening in Parliament. Like I said, we are on recess. Um, so there's not much coming in the way of that. I will, however, and I do also want to take a moment to um, kind of to reflect on the recent spate of shootings that we've had with illegal guns on the streets of St. Maarten. Someone close to me, close to us, as a party, was in danger, as well as their children, due to a stray bullet hitting their vehicle in one of the shootings that have happened over the last couple of days. And I heard that there's allegedly one that has occurred now in Sultry Ward, which was my home district, where I grew up. That there was another shooting there, and I there's a lot happening, and I know that KPSM is stretched to the limit. But I do think it's maybe time for KPSM, via or in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice and other enforcement agencies, to maybe kind of look into doing what they did previously, which is one of those drives, come turn in your gun, and get it off the street. And it also begs the question of what are we doing in terms of controls now. Controlling illegal guns in a landlocked nation could be a little easier than here. You can do all the controls you want at the harbor, but we are an island, guys. And I think that this is a time where you have to also kind of see what assistance can you get from not just the Dutch Coast Guard, but from French Coastal Watch and the surrounding islands, because I imagine it's easy to just kind of land a dinghy, uh, you know, wherever you can get it to land, and come on island with a supply of guns. So that is a resource issue that we that all islands are facing, I think, as a difficulty. How do you stop these things from happening if you cannot police your own waters and your own borders properly? And our borders are not land borders. Our issue is proximity to the sea. Maybe it's because I play games like GTA or whatever, where your literal objective is to find a easy area to land and do your crime. But it does give you the ability to kind of think beyond the regular, like, okay, yes, the port, containers, you hide weapons in there or whatever. But our customs is pretty, they are pretty thorough most of the time. So I don't think it's that is where it's happening. I think it's happening from outside of that, that you kind of just pop up at night, in a little dinghy or whatever, and you drop off, and that's it. So those are the things, the activities that we kind of need to find ways to curb if we can. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that for a bit, as something that locally is happening, and that we all need to be concerned about. And I urge for cooler heads to prevail, and that we do not end up in a scenario like where we were several years ago, where you basically had uh, you know wars of affiliation playing out on the street. Some interesting news in the region. Of course, we had the passing a hurricane, Beryl, devastating, the islands of Carriacou, Grenada, as well, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia. My thoughts are definitely um, with those islands. Beryl then continued on to Jamaica, strengthening again to a category 5, as she passed over the Caribbean Sea. And I think, for us, it was a bit of PTSD watching, her track and watching her move and watching her grow and watching her weaken and watching her grow again. Um, so I think my thoughts are definitely with the people of those islands. If you have been able to donate, thanks a lot. And if you haven't, there are going to be some other initiatives, I believe, happening to send supplies. I myself am going to, get some water and the other critical items that they've mentioned needing. Much like how other islands were sending here to us after Irma, and how my own friends stepped in from those islands and from the states to send supplies post Irma that were then distributed to those in need. I definitely want to also do my part, so I'm urging everyone to keep a lookout for how you can support um, locally from the island. And Beryl, yes, is bebopping her way off to Texas, and I'm hoping that that will be the thing that stops her. I do hope, of course, that it is not how it went in 2017 for Texas, which was, I believe, Hurricane Harvey. So definitely hoping that that is not how it goes, and thinking on friends that I have in Texas as well. So that's the thing about going abroad for school. You make these lifelong friendships, and every time something pops up, you're like, what do I do? Yeah, because at least within the Grenadines, at least 3 islands have reported more than 90% of their homes have been destroyed. And I think there are many articles that talk about the percentages of what has been affected on those islands, and as we see the destruction moving now over to Texas. And a bit of bright news in this other very dismal update. As of Monday, July 1st, Papiamento was officially recognized in the European Netherlands. Under the European Charter for Regional or Minority Languages, the ECRML, after a Dutch a slavery exhibition about Dutch colonialism and their role in the slave trade at the Paleis der Hoop in Strasbourg. The declaration to the charter was then officially handed over to the Council of Europe. So I definitely want to issue a congratulations to the ABC Islands and to those, of course, who speak the language here and in Staba and Statia. That this is now, and of course, the diaspora in the Netherlands for their tireless efforts in getting this recognition for Papiamento. So, Pabieng, as they would say. And I definitely celebrate with you guys this milestone. In closing, yeah, hurricane season, guys. I will say it every time at the end of the live stream. Make sure that you're making your stockpile. We are not yet at the peak of the season. I know right now we woke up this morning to a light tropical wave in the area, dumping some rain and some heavy winds on us. This is going to continue as we move towards the peak of the season. Right now, there is no other wave in the Atlantic. All we've got is Beryl churning up by Texas, and this is where I get into my my weather woman phase. But it is only July 8th. The peak of the season is really the end of August. As we get closer to August, Beryl was a bit of a shock. For a June storm to reach a magnitude of a Category 5 is significant. So just keep on stockpiling, getting your batteries, getting your non-perishables, making sure that you have your water supply. And of course, you're drinking your water all the time, but replenish as you go along. Then you kind of also can gauge, well, we went through this extraordinarily fast. For example, I'm going through water at a much faster rate because of how hot it is. So you also have to take that into consideration. That you need to, maybe instead of buying 3 cases of water, maybe buy 4 if you can. There are, spots that are going to have deals on this, supermarkets, as well as the larger wholesalers. So just take advantage if you can. And I always tend to buy a little extra in case my neighbors at the end of a storm have lost everything. Because I also had that experience in Irma where, persons went and bought supplies and then the supplies got blown away. So you definitely want to also keep that in mind so that we can be good, be neighborly, and be safe together. So also, so I mentioned last time, see, I remembered about getting your trees trimmed. That also matters when you're preparing for hurricanes. And so I found the flyer. It was aerial Um, yeah, so aerial lifting. So I'm going to post this flyer, to our socials in case you need to call them and um get your trees trimmed. They have, like I said, they have the bucket trucks and everything, so that it will make it a lot easier on you, so that you don't have to risk. Because me and Alara, we don't mix, as they would say. We can't set house together. So I definitely want to encourage everyone to just reach out to those companies. That there we go, area lifts. Rental SXM. So it's area lifts rentalsxm.com that you can check out. And they will be able to come with whether it's a bucket truck, a scissor truck, etc. They have bucket trucks that go to 18 meters, a bucket truck up to 25 meters, a scissor lift, and a boom lift. So no matter the tree, no matter the roof, they should be able to help you out. And we'll post that contact info on our socials as well. And you can check that out. I'll add it to the description of this link later on. But that is also part of hurricane preparation. So make sure that you have that sorted. So yes, be on the lookout for the schedule of Parliament. As I mentioned, the Enm meeting should probably be recalled by next week, and then we can hear an update from the Minister of Finance on that. There are also other critical meetings that are pending, and recess of Parliament can always be interrupted. That is basically the intention. As I have mentioned before, when my father was in Parliament at the Netherlands Antilles, many a times you have a family vacation, and it's like, oh no, there's an urgent meeting to deal with some matter, and he had to, of course, leave to go to the meeting and then rejoin the vacation or so. So that is always a possibility, and that any member of Parliament that is committed to their job will cancel whatever they got to cancel to come in for meetings of Parliament. So keep an eye out for that. And don't forget to subscribe to the PFP YouTube channel to be notified of new videos. The live stream will continue, and we will also be bringing in our candidates, with future live streams to touch base with you all and kind of share their experience going through this particular rushed snap election campaign time. So thank you for tuning in. I know it was early, so some are still at work, some are whatever, but you can always catch a replay tonight while you're winding down from the day. And yeah, as always, stay prepared and stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.